Case study style interviews in investment banking? What is this, consulting? All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and the non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. Hello, my name is Alex Mason and I am your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to talk to you today about a new trend in investment banking interviews that's been happening over the last couple of years, and that is case style interviews in investment banking interviews, where you're given a case study and you have to solve it as part of the interview. Now, this is something that's relatively new. I mean, case studies have traditionally been in the realm of the consulting world, where they just case, and that's basically what they do. But we're seeing trends now of cases showing up in investment banking, as well as other fields like marketing type interviews as well. It's something that's becoming more prevalent, and I want to talk about it because case studies are popping up more in investment banking interviews. I'm seeing it more here in my position as co-president of our finance club here at Cornell. I'm seeing it around as well. And so I want to talk to you about this. Now, let's talk about why case interviews are happening. So in the world of consulting, what is the business doing? A business is acting as an advisor to another business in exchange for money, right? That's what consultants do. They provide advice. Well, if you think about investment banking, it's actually quite similar to consulting in that it's an advisory service-based business. So that is kind of mimicking some of those things there that we're seeing. Investment banks want to know that you as a banker can be shown a bunch of information, real world information, come up with an analysis, and then provide that advice or provide a critical viewpoint in a short period of time. Because bankers have to do that all the time. You're constantly getting information, whether it's qualitative information about a business, whether it's quantitative information about a business in terms of the numbers or building models. You have to kind of put these pieces together and actually come up with a recommendation at the end of the day, right? Like, we believe the company's valuation is in this range for these reasons, these are our assumptions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of why these are becoming prevalent. Now let's talk about the structure of these cases. And because this is a relatively new thing, at least that I'm aware of, I don't have too many examples for you, but I do have a couple of things that I've seen. Number one is the write-up style of case. Now, with this type of case interview, you're going to be provided a set of materials. Maybe it's a PowerPoint deck, maybe it's just a one-pager, maybe it's a list of items, but you're going to be given a bunch of information and you have to come up with some kind of write-up and actually come up with some answers for what you think might be answers to specific questions that you're given as part of the case. So, for example, let's say that you're given a deck and you're asked to critique the deck, and you go through this deck, you find a bunch of financial information, a bunch of company information. You may ask certain questions like, are these financial projections reasonable? Are these valuation ranges reasonable? What are the assumptions that they're giving me in this deck about these projections? They're testing your ability to connect information, right? So you may be given this write-up, you'll write something up on a blank document potentially, and then there may be a debrief presentation period where you're having a conversation with some full-time bankers who are asking you questions about the case and what your thoughts are on the case. Another version is simply a conversational style of case interview where you're given a set of information. Again, it might be a deck, it might be a single page of information, and just in a one-on-one interview format, you may be asked to review the information in real time, and they'll just start asking you questions about the information. And so this one is a little bit quicker because you don't necessarily need to have these two phases where you're kind of doing an analysis and then you're talking. This one, you're kind of just reviewing and then talking, reviewing and then talking, and the conversation develops along those lines. So what are some examples of things you could see? Well, you might be given a set of company financials, like a theoretical company, and then you'll have to come up with conclusions based on what you see. So, okay, here on this year of financials, we see these types of numbers. What kinds of conclusions can you draw about the business based on those numbers? Or they may ask you about valuation. They may give you a set of multiples like comparables or precedent transaction multiples relative to a hypothetical company, and then ask you based on those financials, is this reasonable, is it not, and why or why not? They can ask you about the financial aspect of it. They can also ask you about the strategic elements. So for example, if you're given a hypothetical company and you're given the prompt that you're supposed to pitch this to a potential buyer, well, what would you say to that buyer, right? How would you position that company? These questions all come back to what would an investment banker actually do in this scenario given the information? So it's testing if you can think like a banker on your feet. So those are really the two main structures. You could have a write-up style. You may also see Excel modeling tests that you actually have to do, which is kind of the more hardcore version of that. And then you also have a more conversational style. In both styles of the case interviews that I have seen, you are given some baseline information and you effectively have to process that. It's actually not that different from what you might call a pen and paper type of technical interview question, except you are maybe given a little bit more context than just a straight up list of financial numbers that you then need to process and solve one particular problem. Instead of doing that, it's maybe a little bit more like, here's a profile of a company, here's the industry, here's the situation, here's the financials. Okay, now go answer questions about it. So the best way to prepare for this is really to understand the basic elements of valuation, of your financial statements, of your M&A type of concepts, your LBO type of concepts. And then the next step is to start piecing those concepts together in real world situations and try to understand how these things connect, and then practice articulating those connections, because that's what they're going to be testing with a case style part of an interview. So those are some thoughts on case style interviews in investment banking. I hope this is helpful to you, and something that I haven't really heard anybody talk about in any of the traditional resources out there. So I wanted to provide something. So I hope this is helpful. This is Alex Mason here with Investment Banking Insights. I'm so excited that you're here, and just wrapping up the fall semester here at Cornell. I'm so excited for the old Ezra first years here in the MBA program. Some of them have super days this week. I'm super excited for them, and super days in the next couple of weeks. So ready to get those offers over here. So wherever you're at in your journey, I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.